at no point am I saying or doing anything that I can't back with a saying of Allah or his messenger. I might be eccentric addict, I admit it. I'll be very controversial and I'll say things to trigger people. But at the end of the day, if someone comes at me, on a private chat or publicly, I can whack them over the head with Quran and the Sunnah. I used to be an imam. Don't mess with me. I really know my stuff more than people think they know. They think I'm just like some regular old ghetto dude or something. And I was an imam for years. I get a lot of study under my belt. I lived in Mecca and Medina. I studied with the ulama. I sat with them, not in a big way, but I sat in the durus and the circles with some of them. I got my lessons. So, don't play with me.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the T3M podcast. It's your host, Faiyads, Rami, and Anghel, and we're joined with a special guest today.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa
alaikum assalam. So, AbuAmerican, the man, the myth, the legend.
Alaikum, bro. I can't see y'all.
Infamous, huh? The man of infamy.
Was that Anghel?
Can't see y'all, bro. Just keep talking. I'm gonna change locations.
All right, no worries. Yeah, man. So start us off, man. What's your story?
Ooh, I mean, where we start off? I mean, what story you want to hear?
All right, let's
I got a lot to tell.
Let's reverse engineer the life of AbuAmerican. So currently, we don't need to know about your age, none of that. Just tell us where you are in life, what you kind of do, your family, the people you surround yourself with, and then we can work back from there.
Okay. I mean, well, where I'm at in life, I mean, we don't need to go over age or anything, but I'm in my late 40s, almost 50. I'm living in Germany, American citizen, just working and chilling here. I run my own online relationship consultancy. I have multiple wives. It's based upon that. Basically, my experiences with like multiple relationships. For better or for worse, all the failures weren't entirely failures because I learned lessons from them, and I transfer those lessons into practical experience to help others make sure they don't make the same mistakes. So yeah, I mean, really in a basic nutshell, that's where it is. I currently have 3 wives, 9 children. Just work, crypto, and relationship stuff. That's about it. It's not really, it's not a spectacular or complicated story. I'm pretty actually, straightforward and simple guy.
Okay, so when you think about something like this, someone like this, inherently you think of someone that, okay, he has, 3 wives, 9 children. He's a Muslim. He practices Islam to the best of his abilities till today. He's probably been raised like this. This probably has already been him since time, but that's not really the case here, is it?
No. This is something I kind of grew into. I mean, I wasn't always Muslim. I became Muslim back in '98, and I've always had. I mean, even prior to Islam, I had like we'll just call it a love for women. I think all men have this, but some men have a stronger love than other men, and some men exercise that stronger than others. So, I mean, in terms of picking your poison as a man, I kind of picked mine early on, even prior to Islam. No, wasn't always Muslim. Became Muslim back in '98 when I was with the U.S. military, and I remained monogamous once I became Muslim for 16 years. So I was monogamously married. I was together with my ex-wife for like 26 years, but 16 of those years was monogamously. And then I just couldn't do it anymore. I felt that it was having a negative effect on me in terms of like my gaze and lowering my gaze and whatnot. And so I just went ahead and did what was permissible to me, which is got married again, which started me on the current journey that people know of as the, AbuAmerican story.
Funny.
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, mashallah, man.
I know, I gotta ask, bro. Is that a green screen or are you in the woods?
It's definitely not a green screen.
Nice.
That's probably, and you can see us well now, right?
Yeah, I can see y'all well. The Wi-Fi is real nice, crispy.
Perfect. Rami, you've been awfully quiet.
Yeah, man. I'm just.
He's thinking.
Yeah, I'm just listening, man. You can't listen if you're talking.
He's thinking about the several wives.
Mashallah.
All right. So you said you reverted to Islam in 98.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit, two-part question. First, about the first bit of your life until 98, what your views were in religion, theism as a whole, your upbringing. And then the second part, get a little bit about what happened in 98.
Well, I grew up in a military family. We're generational military people. Every generation tends to serve in the military in my family, like my sons are now. So I grew up predominantly in Germany, son of an Air Force ejection seat specialist on F4s back when those things were still in service. They've been retired now. Not that that's an important point, but just talking about it. And my mother was pretty strong Roman Catholic. And so I grew up with a very strong sense of belief. I think most African Americans, when you look at most African Americans, were kind of like very spiritual people anyway. So yeah, I was trying to find my place basically because we didn't go to church or anything like this. I was trying to find my place in terms of like being what I consider to be a person who believes in God. And I went to several different denominations, Baptist, this, that, the other, trying to find my place. And I just found nothing but disillusionment with like, the Christian faith and beliefs, the contradictions and all sorts of things. That's a very, very long story. That's not like, a 2 or 3 year period. That's like a very long period, 10 plus years. Until eventually I was just like, screw it. It's like, I never said I was going to be atheist or agnostic or whatever else, but I just said, I'm just going to believe in God and I'm going to, try and figure it out. The Gulf War came along and a lot of homies got sent to Saudi Arabia. And one of them was like he was this homie of mine named Thomas. And we went to high school together and then, military and everything. And so when he came back from deployment from Saudi, he said he was Muslim. And I was just like completely shocked. I was like, yo, you're white. How can you be Muslim? Because you're ignorant when you don't know about Islam. I mean, I think people are more cued in nowadays because of just, Islam and Muslims have hit the spotlight. But back then I was like, the only people that could be Muslim were like brown people and Arabs. I'm like, so what you talking about? You're a white boy, and you come along talking about your Muslims. It's impossible. But he's like, no, it's not an ethnicity, it's a religion. So I understood at that point that I didn't understand Islam. And so I listened to him because he was also a homie, and he was never like an unreasonable person. We got along very well. And everything he was kicking, everything he was saying was like, wow, hey, man, it's pretty deep. And my understanding of Islam was already faulted, from my father. Love him to death, but, he was completely, wholly ignorant on Islam. Said all sorts of crazy stuff that, is entirely untrue, probably information he got that was bad. And so now the entire understanding and worldview of like what Islam was and wasn't was like kind of like just removed. And so I started attending Jummah and everything and praying with them and fasting. I did this for like 3 years. I basically believed in Islam for like 3 years, but I never took my shahada. But, speaking to some of the ulama in Saudi when I lived there, because I used to live in Saudi, well, they were like, you believed in the shahadatain, you prayed, you fast, you made all the intentions of Islam. It's like, so you were Muslim. But just to cross the T's and dot the I's, I took my shahada, and in 98. So yeah, that was the lead up to 98 in terms of belief and life and whatnot. Just living and working in in Germany. The story is of course a lot deeper than that. I say it all the time, but I tell people my life story, they think I was lying. So I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of details, but yeah, just living life in Germany, black guy in Germany. It's basically like, I think they would say heaven on earth. I would be loud, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, you're the flavor of the week out here as a man of color. So I was just living it up out here with women, partying, whatever else until I became Muslim. Yeah, and then that basically led into 98, basically post 98. I became Muslim, started living, living as a Muslim, went full in, alhamdulillah, I still do. And yeah, I kind of flipped my life, on its head, 180 degrees, right there in my own environment, which was actually quite tough, I mean, it kind of shows you the wisdom of the hadith of the man who killed 99 men, about leaving one environment to go to a better one. Although I didn't have, that man's problems, it was very difficult because I would have like, how do you say this? for lack of a better term, excuse me, I had the old hoes coming up, oh, hey, what's up? What's going on? And I'm like, I'm like a Muslim now, I'm like, hey, hold up, homie. But nobody around me, really understood, the change and the transition I gone through, except for some of the dudes that I used to hang out with. A lot of the guys I used to hang out with, it turns out, were actually Muslim, but we were clubbing together, and doing all sorts of crazy stuff and running women. So they understood. But, a lot of the women in the environment that I lived in didn't. So I became beholden to staying in the house. I still do it to this day. I just kind of avoid the streets. Just not that I think I'm going to run into women. It just became a habit, just staying out of trouble. So yeah, post 98, that's basically been my life up until today.
Okay, man. I understand now what you mean, that we'd probably be here for hours if you really went in depth with everything.
Bro, I got like a heck of a long story. I left out. I'm giving you the cliff notes, and even with the cliff notes, man, we can go on for quite some time.
I was kind of fascinated when I figured out your ethnicity, or like at least the split. Like I had no idea about your mom and her parents and all that. It's kind of fascinating. I thought you were 100% African American.
No. My mom is mixed. So basically, on my mom's side, my grandmother is 100% Indian, like Southeast Asian Indian.
So like Desi Indian, or like
Daisy Indian? No, not Western Indian. Okay, Daisy Indian. And her husband, my grandfather, is 100% white Scottish. He was a sailor, and he was stationed at the port of Spain, which, Trinidad used to be a Commonwealth country of the United Kingdom. And so he was stationed there, and they met. And then there's my mom, My dad is 100% African American. So yeah, I'm mixed up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you're 50% African American, 25% Scottish, 25% Indian. Do you know what type of Indian? Do you know what type of Indian your mom was?
No, I don't know. I never really got into it. It never really, I could probably ask her. I mean, she's, alhamdulillah, she's still alive. I could probably ask her, but it's never occurred to me to do it,
Got you. Any siblings?
Yeah. I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers. Yeah. I used to be the youngest until my latest sister was born. She's like, it'll be about 14 now. Yeah, I haven't met her, unfortunately. It's from a relationship my father had, after my parents separated, So yeah. But I've met her online. I haven't met her in face to face. I've met her online. I talk to her regularly. So yeah.
Are you close to your other siblings too?
Sorry?
Are you close with your other siblings as well?
My brother, the brother closest to me. Yeah. We actually, I mean, we're close again. Let me put it like that. There was a time when we had like falling out, but generally, like, we're close again. He married a feminist, and then he started calling himself a male feminist. And I hate them leftists with passion. I hate them.
How the hell does that work?
Yeah, I don't know either, man. But most African Americans, like, on the liberal side, and so my brother was no different, especially after marrying a feminist. And we just had a lot of arguments, ideological arguments, So we kind of drifted apart. But then I kind of called it. I love him. I ain't crapping on him. It's an unfortunate situation, but he got a divorce, like I called it. Because relationships with feminists never work. And so when he separated, we kind of like drifted back together, alhamdulillah. So we talk regularly now.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, man.
Again, alhamdulillah. Before, it was just like, it was a mess when she was around.
So yeah, if the two of you have anything to just say in, just like hop in whenever. But I just had a quick question before we go on. Tell me the top 3 places that you've ever lived in, and if you currently live in one of them, you can also say it.
No, again, so of the top 3 places I lived in, what?
Your favorite 3 places of all time to live.
Oh, okay.
Society, culture, whatever.
Top 3 places. First and foremost would be Saudi Arabia. I lived in Medina Munawwara, for quite some time. I used to teach there in, the city of prophecy, Medina. That would be the first. Where else? Second, I'd have to say actually Germany. I mean, I'm just only because I spent the most time here. And so I'm most familiar with the place. And then after that, the UK. And I just say the UK because the ease of living there, not because it's like some fantastic place. Germany is not a fantastic place either. I just know it very well. So I'm comfortable here. And the UK is similar, but it's easy to live there. You know, they don't really complicate your life there. Once you have residency and all this stuff, man, it's just like, it's real easy to live there and do your thing. So I'd say those three places, but those are not the top places. I mean, except for Medina that I've visited in terms of, because I've been to 46 countries. I've traveled to 46 countries and I lived in 6. So.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Bro, I had no idea about that.
Really?
MashaAllah.
Okay. In terms of Qatar, you didn't even think of bringing it up.
No. My experience there in terms of Qatar was quite rough. Some nice people there, some horrible people there. I even had like a Qatari brother reach out to me like 2 days ago and invite me back over there, said totally on him. You know, I was like, nah, bro. I'm like, man, just off my heart, bro. He's like, hey, man, take these tickets in this hotel. Come over here and stay. I'm just like, nah, I'm gonna have to pass on me. That's how rough my stay was there, you know. And that's literally a reflection of the entire country. It's like, you know, you're gonna have people that are really good, and you're just gonna have people that you want to choke to death, you know, and stare them in the eye when you do it, you know. So it's just, there's no in between. There's no like middle ground. You it's love hate, you know. And so yeah.
So is that PTSD, or you want to get into that a bit?
I mean, you could probably call it PTSD, but, you know, I mean, I think it's just basic human nature that when you have like a bad experience with something, a food, a place, you know, an object, you know, a particular car or something, you just don't want to deal with it again. You just don't want to mess with it. Like, you know, when we talk in terms of psychology, because I spent a lot of time in psychology, and I was reading something about negative conditioning, sort of like, you know, negative reinforcement. And this guy, when he was in his mid-teens, he was walking outside over some ice, and the ice was crunching, and then he slipped and he fell and he like broke his hip and his leg, you know. So you gotta imagine how hard he fell as a teen to actually break your hip and your leg. And so basically every time he hears that noise, even if he's not the one walking over it, he has like an extreme panic attack, you know. Just, is it reasonable? Probably not, but it's just like the human nature. So, I mean, you know, alhamdulillah, I'm not suffering like him, but it's just like, you know, when someone says Qatar, I'm like, nah, man, I'm good, bro. I'm straight, you know. It's just kind of like, it's just an automatic, like, just no, you know. Yeah, nah, I'm good.
For sure, man. In terms of the 46 countries you've traveled to and you touch base on, what would be some that you can name that you felt the environment made it easy for you to strengthen your Iman or just practice Islam?
Saudi, obviously. Even Qatar, obviously. UAE. Kuwait is probably at the second on that list after Saudi Arabia. In terms of practicing the deen. Yeah, in terms of practicing, they're all Gulf countries. So yeah, those were the best.
Yeah. Have you been to Iceland?
Excuse me?
Have you been to Iceland?
No, I haven't been to Iceland. I'd like to check that out though. It looks really nice, but I've just never. Yeah, it's so difficult getting out there, man. Have you seen like what it takes to get out there, dude? Just like some crazy flights or boats. I'm just like, yo, what the man? It's cold. I just, you know what I mean? I'm like, we black people, man. We're people of color. It's like we're not really cold weather people. So it's like if I'm gonna struggle and go through hardship to get out there, and then I'm gonna get out there, I'm gonna be cold. I'm gonna be kind of like, hey, man. I paid all this money and went through all those like crazy trips, and for this, you know, I'd be kind of upset.
I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I have no idea what you're talking about because me and Anghel went there with one flight. It was hella easy, and for a brother that never spent his life outside of, you know, he's from Puerto Rico, Florida. Nice. That's where he lives now. It's warm, and he wasn't that cold, so we had a pretty decent experience with it.
Hold up now, bro. Don't be trying to like skew the story, bro. I did cold conditioning exercises before Iceland to be ready for the cold.
Trying to set me up, bro.
Yeah. Given that he had no winter jacket, bro, I think you were fine.
He did cold conditioning though. I ain't doing me no cold conditioning. I was like this little vest.
Showers, ice baths.
Okay, now see, I ain't doing that.
Bro,
I got me a vest that I wear here,
freezing.
And it's got like a battery inside of it, and it keeps me warm. It's like a heated vest. I be sweating in that thing, so I ain't trying to mess with no cold conditioning, no ice baths. You know, like I'm some Russian or something, you know.
This man. Yo, so if you don't like the cold that much, why why would you live in the cold? Like, I understand you love Germany and all that stuff, but like,
It ain't that cold.
wouldn't it be more logical to like find a place that's more tropical?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm staying in Germany. I mean, right now it's peak winter and it's like -1 outside. That's really not that bad. It's still cold, but I mean, even at 48, I'm not really trying to stay here. I'm here for my kids, and they're growing up. I'd give it like 4 or 5 more years, and I'm trying to do my final move somewhere, man.
Dip out
This
of there,
isn't
bro.
this isn't it. It's just too difficult in general because it's a socialist country, and socialist countries have too much taxes. If you're a hard worker, they punish you, and if you're a bum, you get rewarded. And so this is not a place for like people who work hard and who are industrious or entrepreneurial. They're just going to tax you to death so you can take care of some some wanker who's just chilling at a cafe all dang day, surfing the internet on his phone and harassing women. That's because that's what they do. So I ain't trying to support that, man. That's what they do out here, man. This is a mess, bro.
That's how it is in America, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
It's crazy, dude.
And they got a hate affair with Muslims also. I mean, there's many of them as there are here. They don't really like us, why you want to stay somewhere where people don't really like you? You know what I mean? It's not.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is very true. Go ahead, bro.
All right, mashallah. I don't want to like skip ahead in the story, but so I feel like a lot of people who are watching, and me myself, obviously, I'm going to speak for myself. I feel like we're wondering what was the transition like from being completely monogamous? Because we're all taught monogamy from a young age because it's just what's normal, right? And going against it isn't just abnormal, but people actually think it's wrong. So when they hear about it in Islam, they're like, what the heck? So what was the transition like from polygamy to, from monogamy to polygyny?
For me, it was pretty natural. I mean, even prior to Islam, before I became Muslim, I was polygynous, and my ex-wife, she kind of accepted it as long as I didn't like go into long-term relationships with these, women, and I kept them like constantly in rotation. She didn't really care. I mean, she did, but she didn't. As long as I didn't make her look bad with it, which I did a lot of times, but as long as it didn't like, embarrass her, or I just like flaunt it right in her face, it was just like, yeah, okay, I got a good looking guy, he's doing okay and everything, and like, women want him. Then going monogamous, that I actually found that quite difficult. That I pulled it off 16 years. For the life of me, I don't know how guys do it. You know what I mean? Barakallahu feek and alhamdulillah to the guys who can. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it if that's the choice you want to make. But I don't find it to be, from my perspective and the perspective that I see from a lot of men, to be their natural disposition as men. I think we have a natural, when I speak of nature, I mean like the nature that Allah put into men, not nature in the shirky sense. I find it to be that men naturally have a proclivity to like women, in general, not just one. And he's also given us that capability and capacity to love more than one woman and to love more than one woman deeply, as opposed to women who, because of the way that Allah designed them, love an individual man deeply. So for me, that transition, very natural. What was difficult was now the status quo for my ex-wife was I've been with him monogamously for like all these years. And now all of a sudden he's throwing a whole wife up in the mix from one day to the next, and not only did I throw one in, I just went out and I was just like, go crazy. And I grabbed two right off the rip. I just, I went out and married 2 women immediately. So, for her, that was like a huge shock, and it was a huge transition. It was very, very tough for her. The 2 new women, it wasn't so bad because I could not program, but for lack of a better term, I could program them and give them the concept and understanding that, hey, this is the program right now. Multiple women, and you are going to be on that team, or you can just go ahead and walk your business and go about your business right now. So in that sense, for me, easy. Her, less so. And this is something that I tell guys a lot nowadays when I do consultations, when I do my videos, is like, this is something you have to discuss with your girl, your woman, your wife very early on in the marriage, preferably prior to marriage, because if you try and change from no discussion of polygyny, to polygyny, mid-game, it's just going to blow up in your face. I've only seen it work twice, and even then when it worked, it was rough, so. Yeah.
So let me ask you something, bro.
Yeah.
Do you think that dudes who are settling, and I'm gonna use that word specifically, all right? So bear with me. So you think dudes who are settling for monogamy, they are making excuses?
That's the question. I'm just making sure before. Okay, if that's the entirety of the question, that's hard to speculate. I mean, that's like saying, I mean, it's kind of hard to, it's like the messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, said, you can't tear open the hearts of people and see the intentions inside of it. But a lot of the times, what I do see, especially the more vociferous a man is in terms of anti-polygyny, the more he wants it. There's just no way a person who's happy doesn't complain about stuff that like doesn't affect or change his life. I've never seen it. It's like when monogamous guys don't bother me. You know what I mean? I'm polygynous and I stay with polygynous. You don't see me attacking guys who are monogamous, because I'm happy polygynous. So it's the same thing in reverse. And I know a lot of monogamous guys, they're not bothered by polygyny. So a lot of times what you do find is that those guys who are most anti-polygyny are the ones who want it the most. And so they attack it. What do they say? Despise what you can't have. This is the basic mentality. So a lot of guys are in denial about their situation, and they're not trying to convince you. They're trying to convince themselves. They're trying to convince their wife because they're in insecure and in unstable footing with their woman. And so they constantly think or believe that this is going to placate her and make her more endeared to him, when the opposite is true. The more masculine traits you show, the higher value you show, the more that women want you, the more she's going to want you, because women operate off social proof. It's like Gucci handbags and Louboutin shoes. Oh, if she wants it, then I want it. Oh, if she doesn't want it, why would I want it? And that applies to you as a man also. So there's a funny meme out there. It's not a Muslim one, it's obviously, but this woman says, it's a meme, and she says, I'm glad my man doesn't have any hoes, but why doesn't he have hoes? Am I fighting for a position that nobody wants? So understand the way that women think. They operate off social proof. If there aren't women clamoring over themselves to get you, eventually she's going to start having doubts. And the more you fight that idea that I don't want other women, this, that, the other, she's going to sit there and be looking like, I just got this guy that nobody wants. Why am I here? And so it's a mistake to even act like it's not a possibility for you. Even if you don't want to be polygynous, at least act like you could be. That doesn't mean acting like you want to be, but act like you could be, because that makes you attractive. But you sitting out here, you're dealing with guys who nowadays, they're dealing with, and I don't want to be insulting or offensive, but the reality is they're dealing with less than normal testosterone levels. And so their drive and desire for women is probably lower than normal. And so some of these guys are quite happy. Other guys, they're going to be like, rah, rah, like me, I'm not blowing my own horn. It's just in my circle, I tend to keep guys that have a particular mentality, behavior, and mindset. And I couldn't look at any of these guys and say they're low T, or like, they're soft or something like this, or their entire world of like, is like trying to placate their woman. And that's not to say that you don't try and make your girl happy. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
They are their own mental point of origin, and so they don't make her the mental point of origin, because that's needy. And guys who are, masculine and about masculinity, they are not needy,
Yep. And that's the thing, man. Like, I see that a lot, where I will see a dude who will say, right, he will verbally say that he is happy and like he's content with it, but it's like I could see it in his eyes and his body language whenever he's around other women. And like, bro, how much you want to bet that they're watching pornography? And I hate to say that here, because like obviously we're trying to keep things halal, but dude, like how many dudes, especially dudes who aren't Muslim, who they say that they're happy with their woman, yet they're here watching pornography, they're here looking at all these other women. It's like, come on, bro, don't lie to yourself. You
made a solid point. From my consultations, one thing that I do is I talk to a lot of guys, and a lot of guys have pornography addictions, and I've never met a guy that was polygynous that had a pornography addiction. Not one. But they've always been monogamous guys. And I had this conversation with my newest wife recently, and we were talking. And I was like, look, I said, look at any guy who's monogamous. And guys, forgive me out there if you're watching this, you're monogamous. This don't be women. Don't act like women to the guys watching this. Women, we expect to react to words. Don't think about how words make you feel. Listen to the words and the logic and reason. And this is another problem that we have with men today. They look at words and they listen to words and they react like women. How does that make me feel? And then you get angry. But logic and reason, guys. So here's the thing. If you look at most monogamous men, you find that there is some sort of extreme behavior that they partake in to compensate for lack of what they really want, which is normally another woman. You'll find those overweight guys, they're eating themselves, they're eating themselves into satisfaction. They're video gaming themselves into satisfaction instead of going out and getting the woman they want. I go to the gym, but you find guys are excessive in going to the gym and trying to like compensate for not getting what they want. You will find some sort of extreme behavior in most monogamous men. Guys who are polygynous, they tend to, not all, but they tend to have a very good balance in terms of what they're doing and going to extremes and excessiveness. It's because they're getting what they want. And so they're satisfied with life. And so they don't go into extremes in eating. They don't go to extremes in lifting or video games or this or that. They tend to be more moderate in everything that they do, except obviously women. So that's the extreme. But that's normal and natural, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be something that was made permissible by Allah and his messenger. So boom, that's my take.
Facts. And bro, even all the other prophets, peace be upon all of them. Bro, a lot of them had multiple wives. Some of them were monogamous, but a lot of them had multiple wives. I was like, bro, I had, my bad for interrupting you there, but I had a lot of Christian friends back in the day. And like, yeah, I had one girl, but it's like I still understood like my internal male nature that like I wanted to be with more than one woman. And bro, like I would talk to them about it and they're like, no, that's not right. And I'm like, dude, like, in the Bible, there's even reports of people having multiple wives. Like, how can you guys be against that? Weird.
Monogamy is actually a relatively new creation in terms of Western society. The Romans were the ones who basically brought it in, but the Romans actually, even though the Romans brought in monogamy, the Romans were okay with concubines and prostitution. So it was normal for a man to be married only to one woman, but to actually have concubines, mistresses, and visit prostitutes. It wasn't seen as like a negative thing in their society and culture. And this is what a lot of people like to overlook, and they fail to understand. And but monogamy in Western culture and society, new thing. And so what we're doing as Muslims is we're literally emulating the non-Muslims, in their behaviors. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, said it. And it's amazing that we're even having this conversation. Think about how amazing that is. When the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, said, you are going to emulate, you're going to copy the non-believers, handspan by handspan, to the point that if one of them entered, you would find people from amongst the Muslims to do it also. And here we are. Nobody ever stopped to think for an instant we are doing to monogamy. Nobody ever stopped.
Yo, Abu, your connection just keeps going in and out with the
audio. Yeah, I thought it was just me, so I didn't say anything. But
my
connection's
really bad.
You're spitting some facts right now, so it's like it's
a
little rough that it's doing this right now.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Connection, but they had to install. So I'm waiting for maybe I should hotspot over my phone. My phone generally has better connection in my house. Let me.
Yeah, you were telling us like something that's happening in your house, and then you just went back to that, so we couldn't even hear that last part.
1 second. I might drop. I'll be right back. Give me a second.
All right. In the meantime, inshallah, one thing I wanted to say was that I feel like a lot of men, like I said, they're conditioned by society. This is a given, right? They're conditioned to think that monogamy is the only way. Polygyny is like, there's no such thing. And as Abu mentioned, but they're, watching porn. Anghel mentioned it as well. They're watching porn. They're doing this, doing that. They're checking other women. They have their even like side chicks and prostitutes and all this stuff on the side. So they know they're polygynous in nature, but they're monogamous mentally. And this is an issue because it creates a cognitive dissonance like effect in which they're acting one way, they're saying something else, and they don't even know where they stand internally. And this could manifest itself in many ways. For me, I would say it manifested in terms of neediness, because looking back, I could have put, I'll just call my energy, into multiple women and it would have been fine. But I tried putting all of it into one, and I had so much, I'll just call it loving energy. That's all I'll say. I was putting it all into one place, and then it became overburdening, and then it became needy, and then it became she's no longer here. She was there, but she wasn't really there anymore. You know what I mean? And that was the beginning of the end, I'd say, which alhamdulillah led me to a new beginning. But that's what it manifested itself as for me, just that neediness. And like Abu mentioned, it manifests itself in many different ways. But this is the issue, because men can be monogamous. Men can. This is why monogamy is halal as well. Allah says after 2, 3, and 4, He says, if you can't be just, then marry one. It's halal as well. The Prophet ﷺ, he was married to Khadija radiallahu anha for over a decade, and he was monogamous to her. But after she, and this is what I wanted to mention. I mentioned it earlier. After she passed away, the Prophet ﷺ, then he started polygyny. And it's kind of like, I feel like I can relate to him in the sense that once he got his heart broken, because it was heartbreaking for him. Once he got his heart broken, now he's open to polygyny. That first initial love that every guy has, once that's broken, it's not the same anymore. That's what it was like for me. Once it was broken, it was never the same. But now I'm open to polygyny. It's like
it's almost like you took the red pill. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yeah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Subhanallah. I think that's profound. But Abu, have you hot spotted?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm on my phone right now. It should be better. So.
Much better.
Yeah, I can tell it's a little clear, bro.
Alhamdulillah.
So
I can see the pores on your face now.
Nice.
So you made one last comment. All I remember from it was polygyny.
Oh wow.
Nice, bro.
Nice, bro.
I had it in my head until I started talking, then I forgot it.
Allahu Akbar. Wow, I missed a lot.
Yeah, bro.
Oh man, I was on a roll there.
So, bro, you were talking about the men and how like the addictions and how like they'll go from one extreme to the other, and then how the Romans were the ones that brought monogamy, but they were cool with like the whorehouses,
concubines.
Okay. Yeah. So recapping, basically, it's like recapping what I was saying is like you find that usually, monogamous men tend to have like some sort of extreme behavior that manifests itself for lack of doing what they really want, which is marrying and making love to multiple women. I mean, it's not being vulgar or anything to say that, we make love to women, and as long as it's in a permissible way. So this is what a lot of guys want to do. But in lieu of that, what they end up doing is they end up making love to food. They become excessive in gym. They become excessive in video games. Sometimes these manifestations can be positive, obviously, especially when you talk about like going to the gym, making money. But they tend to be like very, very top heavy in those particular areas, to the point that they nearly neglect the marriage that they have. They become excessive in it, or it makes them unattractive. Like some guys, they'll just start eating themselves. I know a brother. He's a very nice brother. I met him in Qatar, and he wanted to get married very badly to another woman. And because he couldn't, he just was eating and eating and eating. And he was literally like 90 kilos over his body weight. And every time we had this conversation, I noticed he got depressed, and he would start eating, let's go, here, let's go there. And there's always a restaurant. And I'm just like, man, bro, you can't be doing this to yourself. And his wife literally like had him under a thumb. She's like really just running him, and he was successful. He was making good money. He basically had the position to do what he wanted to do. And prior to this, he was like a college football player. The guy was like quote unquote alpha. And then he just let himself go because he couldn't get what he wanted, because he wanted, to be Mr. Booby Boo, I love you, to his girl. And that's not what she wants from you, but that's what he gave her. In terms of monogamy, what I was saying was monogamy is relatively new in the West, and it was the Romans who brought it in. But the Romans were people who were not really entirely monogamous. They had prostitutes, concubines, and mistresses. So it was acceptable for a man to be married and then to have mistresses or concubines or prostitutes. That was completely considered acceptable. Now, in terms of Western society and what we want to see as Muslims, okay, we're pleased that they gave up all of this stuff because prostitution, haram, and zina is haram. But the reality is, when they gave that up, they just kind of left men on their own in terms of like, being, what they really wanted in Western society. And we see it hasn't worked because, as we know, pornography and prostitution are still a thing. If not pornography, it's more of a thing than ever before. And it's obvious there is no, like, just like there's age checks on pornography, there's no marriage checks. It's obviously made for men, irrespective of his marital status. It's probably aimed at married men more than it is single men. Allahu Ta'ala Alam. But coming back to my point of emulating the non-Muslims, when we look at like what Muslims are doing nowadays, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said, verily, some of you, he's like, the Muslims will emulate the non-Muslims. They'll copy them, they'll imitate the non-Muslims handspan by handspan, to the point that if one of them entered into a lizard's hole, in another narration, it says that if one of them slept with their mother, you'd find Muslims from amongst the Muslims doing it also. So now I find it, very interesting that the Muslims are emulating the non-Muslims in their marriage practices of polygyny, of monogamy, and they never once, missed a beat and thought to themselves like, hey, we're copying these people, to the point where like we find Muslims trying to forbid and make haram polygyny, So, it's an emulation of non-Muslims, because this was never something that the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, did, said you can't be married to multiple women. The Sahaba didn't do it. The Khulafa Rashideen, none of them ever said this. Nobody has ever said that it's impermissible, which you find a lot of Muslims today, especially the women, saying that it's not permissible. And so this is just copying. This is imitation of the non-Muslims in their ways. So I just find it mysterious that nobody's ever skipped, thought for a second, like, hey, this is part of that hadith. It's just amazing. This never occurred to anybody. Obviously, it goes into further than just marriage, because like our brother was saying, monogamy is completely permissible also, but its permissibility is as equal as polygyny, so it's like, what are y'all talking about?
They're acting like monogamy is fard, like you have to.
Yeah.
And
it's not.
Allah.
Bro, let me chime in here, because you were saying something that like just sparked something, bro. It just reminded me of like when I was younger and I had gotten my first girlfriend, bro. And it's like, in the beginning, most men will start with the masculine frame. They'll start in that alpha state, because bro, it's in us, it's in our nature. And once we do get with the woman, it's like you said, if you start to restrict yourself, like, something's gonna give. You're gonna buckle somewhere. You're gonna have an extreme somewhere, or you're just gonna let yourself go. And it's like Rami was saying, he started getting needy, bro. Like, I remember I was getting needy at certain times. I remember I would stop working out, and I just started like seeing myself in like a lesser light. And it's like, dude, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's this MMA fighter. His name is Israel Adesanya. And he always says, keep the same energy that you brought in, like, in the beginning. And like, obviously he's talking about fighting, but we can definitely refer back to this, where it's like, all right, you get a woman, keep that same energy, or else it's all going to go downhill. And it's just crazy that you're saying that, like, if a man is restricting himself, which that is what's happening nowadays. And, not to say that, okay, every man needs to be polygynous, because that might not be the best move. Some men actually do want to be with one woman. That's cool. But it's like, all right, if you are a man and you do want to be with multiple women, like, do not restrict yourself.
Yeah. There's science behind this, actually. And anybody can Google this. Basically, when a man goes to a monogamous relationship, his testosterone levels naturally drop. And this is by the wisdom of Allah, to like, make the man want to stick to the relationship with the woman. So then, like, follow his more, promiscuous nature, if that's what we want to call it. The male reproductive strategy is spray and pray, impregnate as many women as possible. And women, they generally are the opposite, because they have to care for young. and women can only have so many young at one time. You know, they have to pick very carefully when it comes down to male and his ability to provision and care for and protect those children. So she's very intensely focused on finding the best possible male and focusing on him and keeping him happy and sticking around. So it makes sense that men actually, like, you know, start acting like this once they get into a relationship. Now, this doesn't stand true for men, obviously, who are in a relationship with multiple women. His testosterone levels increase, and they get higher because he's dealing with multiple women, which is more in line with his reproductive strategy as opposed to monogamy. So it makes sense that, you know, that takes place. I mean, I saw it myself. I mean, you know, it happened to me too. You know, when I was being monogamous, you know, you become a different person, and it's not a person you're comfortable with. My wife says it on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see my wife says it. She said, I hate that I love it that he's at his best when there's more women involved. But I'm at my best when there's more than one woman involved. I really am. It makes me better, you know, because when you have multiple women involved, and when you're involved with multiple women in a relationship, it's not forgiving. They look at you closely because you're doing something that they really don't want. They're willing to do, but they really don't want. And so when you screw up, they're going to be on you about it. And so you have to, as a man, be on your absolute A game at all times in all things, because they are sitting there waiting for you to screw up. And it just makes you better. You know, I like the challenge. I'm a man. I like a challenge. I like to push myself, you know, and it's not just because of that I have multiple women, but it just makes me better. It forces me to be better. You know, it forces me to, like, you know, I get up in the morning and I have to, like, you know what, I got to be the emotional rock for multiple people. They look to me for answers. They look for me to decisions. You know, they look to me for leadership. You know, I don't have any of these boss chicks and all that crazy stuff. You know, no, that's my job. And they look to me for that, you know, and so I have to at all times be at the top of my game. And I freaking love it, man, because otherwise you're going to drift through society and life just being average. Who wants that? No guy wants that. This is one of the things. This is what guys are looking for in video games. Tell me it's not true. When you get in a video game, you want the strongest character. You want the best equipment. You want, you know, the highest level, because you want to kick rear in the game. What he's kicking rear in the game because he can't do it in real life. The only way you're going to kick rear in life is being the best that you can in life. And let me tell you something. You got multiple women staring at you and jumping on you for stuff. And I mean, my women don't jump on me, but but you know what I'm saying? But if you have to perform, you're going to be the top of your game. You know, you're going to be the top of your game. Dude. That's my take.
Yeah. I'm sure one people disagree question. With me. Yeah. What, you think who's going to disagree with you?
There's a lot of people who disagree with me just because I said it.
Oh, yeah. All the monogamous men, maybe.
Yeah, but and women.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I was gonna ask. So, a lot of people, I think, are gonna take it in a negative light. Like, you know, you're being forced to act in a certain way. I want to ask: does it make you feel good? Right? Does it produce a good feeling? And is it a good kind of push that you have? Is it rewarding in a sense? Because with me,
it's
just
very
to give
rewarding.
Like, it is, right? Okay, just because with me, it's like I'm working for my family, alhamdulillah, but none of them are a wife, right? They're like my sister, my brother, my mother, not even kids, right? Not even my kids. So I don't see it in the same light. And I'm thinking to myself, if we just added a wife to the equation, it would be 1,000 times more rewarding, just working and making money and providing and all this stuff. But since that's not there, it's not as rewarding, but the force and the drive is still there. So I wanted to know if there's a differentiation between being forced in a negative light or being forced in like a rewarding light.
Yeah, there is, obviously. The force is self-imposed. You know, I can cruise control it. I mean, and I'm not bragging, but at the same time, I kind of am. When I say I'm a good looking guy, I'm fit, you know, I take care of myself. I make a steady, decent income online. You know, I'm pretty good in my category of man. You know, you compare me to guys half my age. I go to boxing, I go jiu-jitsu and all this stuff. I'm beating up guys who are 25. They should be at the top of the game, whipping an old man around the ring, and I'm smoking dudes, you know, unless they're the top of the team. So they see this. So I could just cruise control it, just being me. But is that good enough? It's not good enough for me. So for me, I need that challenge. And if there's no pressure, I'm not going to push myself. That's not how humans work. Humans always look for the easiest path of least resistance. Nah, man. you know, I need a push. I need that push, and I like it. You know, is it mandatory on me? No. They love the heck out of me, my women, and that's not by accident. That's, you know, that's researching, vetting, you know, checking these women, making sure they're the right type of women. So that pressure is 100% mine. It's 100% internal, and you know, it helps improve the relationship. There's no way you're going to have a good relationship if you're not the best version of yourself for yourself, you know. And so whatever it takes for you as a man to make you the best man that you're going to be, do it. And I talk about this. I'm writing a guide to female submission because I think everybody knows, you know, I got my wives tying my shoes and all this stuff and people freaking out about it. But, you know, I have very, 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 very submissive women, and it's not degrading to them. Contrary to popular belief, this submission, and when I speak of female submission to a man, it's not something that is degrading to them. This is not the intention or purpose whatsoever. But it's more of like the natural order and state of things. And so if you need that, if you want that, when I'm writing my submission guide, I talk about this all the time. It's kind of like if build it and they will come. And it's the same mentality. You're building the best version of you for you, and everything that comes as a reward for this. You go to school if you're a student and you get good grades and you get the best possible job. You did that for what? So you could get the best possible job and the best possible money. Anything you do for a reward, you do for yourself. You don't do it for that thing. When a person went to university and he studied, he didn't go to university and study so that, you know, for the purpose of for Apple. He went for himself, you know, and then the reward is working wherever he wants to, having the choice to work where he wants to, as opposed to looking at it like, oh, Apple's going to pick me if I just do this. This is what guys are doing in regards to women. No, build yourself and you have your choice. Then when you go out into the world and you're like, you know what? Apple just wrote me a letter, but then, you know, these guys over here just wrote me a letter too. You have your options, you have your choices. And it's the same thing with women. Women like high value men, you know, and they are on the hunt for them. And so make yourself a high value man and do whatever it takes to do that. For me, this is what it takes for me. I you know, some people could say that's bad. Oh, you need women to make yourself, you know, the best possible version of you. This is my pressure. And that pressure is 100% internal. You have to imagine, I got these women. I have multiple women. I have 3 wives. Obviously, I was doing this prior to them showing up, because if I hadn't been doing that work, they wouldn't be here. They'd be like, yeah, you know, who's this, you know, lazy schlub bum over here, you know, trying to chat me up, talk about you know, one of many wives of his. Obviously, this is something I did on my own already. So it's the same thing. When you get inside that relationship and that marriage, for me, it becomes a greater push to continue pushing even harder, not for another wife, just because I like the results, you know. Did that make sense?
Alhamdulillah, may Allah reward you, man. But yeah,
bro, you got Rami's gears spinning, bro. Look at Rami. Look at him.
I'm just internalizing all of
Looks
it.
like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
Craig, I was gonna say that you know, as you're speaking, it just reminds me, there's so many women I know that they get into a relationship with a man and they perceive the man as high value, and then over time they start saying these things like, oh, you don't have to go to the gym anymore, you don't have to do this, you don't have to, like, you know, you're already perfect, I already want you for who you are, I already love you for who you are, and I'll never let you go. And like, you know, you don't need to keep working out, you know, you can just eat whatever, it's just, you know, it's just one, you know, whatever. And before you know it, this guy's no longer who he wants, and then she left him because he did exactly what she told him to do.
Yeah, that's a test.
They called it.
Yo, you're kind of like, your video's frozen, and bro, he's not even in anymore.
Yeah,
he left the chat.
And disappeared. Dang.
Yo, so let me just throw in here by the time he's coming back, right? So there's a few type of women that are probably gonna watch this. There's one. The first one is gonna be the ones who agree. Okay. The second ones are going to be the ones who, well, they don't really agree, but it's like they don't want that. Then you're going to have the feminists, for lack of better words, they're going to be like completely on the opposite end. But it's like, yo, you're showing them the facts, you're showing them the logic, and at the end they're just going to be like, oh, well, I would never do that. There we go. We got him back.
Welcome back.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. I literally dropped. I mean, it was the weirdest thing. The signal.
No worries, man. Your connection's like on 10 right now.
Alhamdulillah.
What was I saying? It's a trap. We were
Yeah, I
talking
said
about the trap.
it's a test.
Yeah, man. 10 months later, now they got a new guy, and it's just taking time bomb until he just fulfills her desires and wishes, and no longer striving for being the best man he could be.
I'd like to make a point on this, and this is for all the guys out there who are monogamous and they're going to remain monogamous. I don't care what you do. Just make sure your marriage lasts. Monogamous or polygynous, don't listen to that stuff from women. Listen, she is attracted to you. If she wasn't, well, she shouldn't have married you, first off. But generally, there has to be some form of attraction on her part to marry you. And here's the thing. A lot of women say things that in the hopes that you will do stuff that will make you unattractive to other women. But the problem is she's a woman too. And remember social proof. And I talked about this earlier with social proof. If you become unattractive to other women, you become unattractive to her. Remember, if other women don't want you, why should she want you? No, be attractive and stay attractive. You don't have to go to the gym. I know I don't have to go to the gym, baby, but I'm going. I'm gonna go hit these weights. Oh, you don't have to do this. Yeah, I know, but I'm gonna do it. I'm still loving you. Yeah, I know, but I love myself, and that's why I want to go. I'm going to the gym because I love myself and I like to look a particular way. I look really good. I like looking good. So, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna lift. I'm gonna do like this. You are your focus point. You are the mental point of origin for you, not her. Who cares if she doesn't think you have to go to the gym? Why would you listen to that? I mean, it's not that you hate your woman or you're disrespecting her, but it's like, what kind of crazy statement is that? If one of my girls said, "Hey, you ain't got to go to the gym," and they've said it before, I look at her like she's crazy. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't have to go to the gym. No, I don't have to go to the gym, but I'm going to the gym. I went to the gym before I met you. Why would I stop now? Because you're here? Really? Thanks. Oh, wow. So I'm just going to stop being me because you're here now. Oh, mashallah, baby. And I use cocky funny to clown my girls with stuff like this when they come with that goofy stuff. I don't, because it's not worth arguing over. But at the same time, it's a test and you can't fall for it, But at the same time, you do have to have a good response for it, because then who are you trying to look good for? Well, everybody. Trying to look for your potential next wife, your co-wife. You just joke with her, and this goes back to what I was saying about monogamous guys. Act like it's something you can do, even if you're not going to do it. Be confident, be calm, be cool about it. She's going to find it attractive because of your confidence. But a lot of guys are counterintuitive. Oh, if I say that, she's going to freak out and I'm going to be sleeping on the sofa. Well, if you have that mentality, I don't know how you got married in the first place, but you know what I mean? It's like, guys fall for these tricks and these traps from women, man. And I find it completely like, dude, are you serious? This goes back to what I was saying about guys eating them ways and, their ways into stuff or out of stuff, or going to excessiveness. It's kind of along the same lines. Yeah.
We got a lot of young bucks that are probably going to be watching this now, wondering, because we have a lot of viewers, 15, 16, even 12, 13. And they're probably going to be confused about all this, but it's just cognitive dissonance, as Rami says.
Wow. Okay.
It's essentially being brought up one way, experiencing, knowing internally you want something else, not being able to admit it, and then having it manifest itself into your life regardless.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you mentioned, it comes out in different manners. And this is the
He's
issue.
right. He's right.
Yeah.
Abu's right.
Like, how do you go against mental conditioning if you're not mentally conditioning yourself to reverse it? You know what I mean? You would have to mentally condition yourself to unwire everything that's been wired your entire life. But if you're not conscious of that, if you're not aware of that, it's like we always say, the biggest problem a person can have is not knowing they have a problem, because then nothing gets done. If you know you have an issue, at least you can try and work on it from there.
Yeah. One thing I'll tell a lot of young guys, and this is not going to be easy, especially for the young guys, because of peer pressure, social pressure and whatnot, and peer groups. Everybody wants to have their homies. You got to be ready to be the bad guy. If you want to be who you want to be, and we're talking permissibly, you have to be prepared to be the bad guy. Anything you want. The more a person practices Islam, the more you find that he'll find people that will oppose him. We're talking about from amongst the Muslims, oh, you're one of those extremists. I'm a Salafi. People say I'm some sort of extremist. Oh, you're one of those guys, blah, 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 Salafis, ISIS, and then they start saying all sorts of goofy stuff. Well, since when has it been a bad thing to want to practice Islam in a better way, in a way closer to the method of the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him? if you're going to do what's right or do what's good for you in a permissible way, people will hate you for it. You know why? Because people are afraid and they hate to see you pursue what you want, how you want, and actually get it, knowing that they are incapable themselves of doing it. And that incapacitation is 100% internal. People are angry and they're upset. And when you really ask them why, when you sit down and talk to these people, they can't tell you. And you know what that is? That's the opposite side of that cognitive dissonance. They can't accept that I'm angry because I can't do what I want to do. They'll give you all sorts of, and trust me, I spend a lot of time with angry people online. They hate me on Muslim Twitter. And I spend a lot of time having a lot of conversations with these guys, and they can never entirely vocalize what they have against me. I had this conversation yesterday. Classic example. I did a show with my wives. You know, they were on the show in niqab, and all you could see was their eyes. And the person came on, started talking about, oh, you got your wives, you're on the timeline, this, that, the other. And, you know, people hearing their voices. And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, give me a hadith, give me an ayat, give me an opinion from the book and the sunnah that says the woman's voice is aura, that it's part of her private part, you know, that it's not something that's supposed to be heard. I said, drop that for me. Go ahead. And they kept on coming up, oh, with this, oh, with that, oh, with this, oh, with that. And I was like, no. I said, I asked you for a dalil, proof that a woman's voice is not to be heard. According to the Quran and according to the Sunnah, show me this. Oh, well, are you saying, you know, well, you had them on the timeline? I'm like, yeah. And I said, describe my wives to you. I said, tell me their ethnicities, because people keep asking me what their ethnicity is. You can't even tell their ethnicity because all you can see is their eyes. So this person just kept on and on. Well, are you saying that if brothers came over to your house, they'd all sit together? I just blocked them because it's obvious they don't know what they're mad about. They just they're mad because I'm doing something that they can't personally comprehend or accept that I can actually do and it be permissible, or that, you know, it goes against their culture. And so
envy.
Before we proceed, like, we got a lot of non-Muslim peeps here. So in your own words, just the term Salafi, what does it mean?
Salafi. Salafi is a methodology of Islam. It's a methodology of Islam where the Salaf were the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And so when the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he says, you know, the people who are upon guidance are those who follow me and my Salaf, you know, the rightly guided Khulafa, who are the Salaf. And so we say we are Salafi, we follow them. You know, we follow the Prophet Muhammad according to the understanding of the Salaf, because it was the Salaf who gave us and translated and transmitted to us the religion as we know it. So we say we're Salafi because we follow that. It's an orthodox form of Islam, you know, that follows. Yeah, I just explained it basically. I'm just repeating myself 10 times. Yeah. So when I say I'm Salafi Muslim, a lot of people, you know, and there's a lot of anger and hatred against Salafi Muslims because they're quite orthodox, and, you know, everything is, you know, qala Allah, qala Rasul, the saying of Allah and the saying of his messenger. And, you know, and this is why a lot of people hate me also, because they come at me with stuff that I say and I do, but at no point am I saying or doing anything that I can't back with a saying of Allah or his messenger. I might be eccentric addict, I admit it. You know, I'll be very controversial and I'll say things to trigger people. But at the end of the day, if someone comes at me, you know, on a private chat or publicly, I can whack them over the head with the Quran and the Sunnah. I used to be an imam. Don't mess with me. I really know my stuff more than people think. They think I'm just like some regular old ghetto dude or something. And I was an imam for years. I get a lot of study under my belt. I lived in Mecca and Medina. I studied with the ulama. I sat with them, you know, not in a big way, but I sat in the darus and the circles with some of them, you know. I got my lessons. So, you know, don't play with me.